Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, Mr. Burgess.
Morning.
On your direct examination yesterday, your experience was brought up in questions, correct?
Correct.
On your direct examination, your certifications were brought up in questions, correct?
Incorrect.
There was no discussion in your direct examination about having certifications in Celebrite and Magnet Forensic Axiom. Did I mishear
No, if I misheard your question, it was.
I asked about certifications. I'll repeat it, sir,
Sure.
in case I misspoke. On your direct examination, your certifications were brought up in questions, correct?
Yes, correct.
However, on your direct examination, no questions were asked of you at all about your supposed education, correct?
Correct.
And you did not bring up your educational background at all on
Correct.
direct examination, correct?
Correct.
A forensic examiner must prioritize accuracy, correct?
Correct.
A forensic examiner must prioritize reliability, correct?
Correct.
Both are important.
Correct.
It's criminal proceeding we're in, correct?
Correct.
And therefore, accuracy and reliability are especially important in a criminal case as opposed to a civil case, correct?
I think that would be equally important in both, but yes.
But they're certainly important in a criminal case.
Correct.
And accuracy and reliability are especially important when seconds and minutes matter, as they matter and as you testified to in this case, correct?
Correct.
You testified yesterday that the events on the timeline contained in your PowerPoint presentation that was displayed yesterday and presented to the jury were accurate, your words several times, down to the second, correct?
Correct. For the Lexus, yes.
For the Lexus.
Yes.
You said they were accurate down to the second, correct?
Correct.
Let's take a look at your PowerPoint presentation that you discussed extensively before the jury yesterday. Mr. Wool, could we please bring up slide 32 of the presentation Mr. Burgess discussed with the jury yesterday? And Your Honor, with your permission to publish.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, pick your screen.
Sure.
Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Miss Reed's Lexus vehicle traveling to 34 Fairview Road and the O'Keefe residence?
Yes.
According to your timeline, Miss Reed's vehicle powered on at 12:36 a.m. on January 30th, correct?
Correct.
Now, is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
For the power on and off events, yes.
Yes. Could we go to slide 33, please, Mr. Wool? And we're going to go through a handful of slides,
Sure.
Mr. Burgess, just to give you a heads up. Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed leaving the O'Keefe's residence at 5:07 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
And according to your timeline, Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle at 5:07:46 a.m. on January 30th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
If we could go, Mr. Wool, to slide 34, please. And these are all your slides, correct, sir?
Correct. They
You
are.
prepared them?
Yes.
Is Slide 34, a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed traveling to the Dighton residence at 12:25:01 a.m. I'm sorry, 12:25:01 p.m.
12:35:01. Correct.
I'm sorry, thank you, 12:35. And according to your analysis, Ms. Reed powered on her vehicle to travel to Dighton at 12:35:01 p.m. on January 30th, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is the time on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes.
Slide 35, please, Mr. Wolf. Is this a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed's vehicle being towed by the Massachusetts police vendor from her parents' residence in Dighton?
Yes, it is.
And pursuant to your timeline that you created here, Ms. Reed's vehicle was powered on at 4:11 p.m. on January 30th, 2022, and towed to the Canton Police Department, correct?
Correct.
Is your timeline on this slide accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, this time stamp is.
Slide 36, please, Mr. Wood. Is slide 36 a true and accurate representation of your analysis of Ms. Reed's vehicle arriving at the Canton Police Department?
Yes, it is.
And pursuant to the timeline you created, Ms. Reed's vehicle powered off at 5:36:42 p.m. on January 30th, 2022, correct?
Objection. Objection.
Okay. Is your analysis down to, is your analysis on slide 36 accurate down to the second, as you stated in your direct examination yesterday?
Yes, according to the Lexus, yes.
According to the Lexus.
Yes.
In point of fact, Mr. Burgess, none of the 5 timelines that we just reviewed from your presentation are accurate at all, and certainly not down to the second. Am I right or am I wrong?
You are wrong.
Are you aware, and if we could go back to the first slide, which is slide 32, and we'll look at each of them quickly.
Sure.
Are you aware that all of the relevant events in the timeline you described in your presentation in these slides actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, not January 30th, 2022? Do you know that?
This is January 30th, 2022. Or
That's
January 29th, correct.
It's January 29th, 2022. And in terms of January 30th, I want to go back and make sure it's very, very clear. In your presentation, they actually occurred on January 29th, 2022, correct?
The night of the incident, yes.
Could I have a moment, Your Honor, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, once that timeline crosses into midnight, it's January 30th, not January 29th, correct?
Correct, yes, it is January 30th, yes.
So in actuality, these 5 timelines, as you testified to them yesterday, are not accurate down to the second, correct? Because you got the wrong date.
Well, parlance, yes, but yes, they are still accurate to the second.
But the date, these 5 timelines, let's pursue this. These 5 timelines are exactly 24 hours off from the time where the event actually occurred, correct?
No, so these events occurred on January 30th. If I misspoke and said the 29th, yes.
Okay. You understand my point?
Yes, I do.
The core basis of your job, your role in this case, is to reconcile time discrepancies, as you say, down to the second, correct?
Correct?
But your discussion of the timeline on each of these slides, on each of these key events, is incorrect, correct?
No, it's not incorrect.
So your discussion of the applicable date, you're saying, as you described it yesterday and interpreted this timeline, was correct? Is that what you're saying now?
This timeline is correct,
But
yes.
my question is your discussion of it yesterday.
If I misspoke and said the 29th, then yes, I misspoke on that, yes.
And that was your testimony yesterday, what you spoke about.
Yes.
Let's turn to a different topic. Your, actually, to mitigate the inconsistencies that you analyzed yesterday between independent clocks, am I correct that your position is that forensic methodology recommends cross-referencing timestamps from multiple sources to identify discrepancies, and when possible, leveraging time anchors, events that contain both a system timestamp and an external physical event to identify and correct timing discrepancies? Do I have that right?
Yes, you did.
Yesterday, we talked about the scientific method. You recall that, sir?
I do.
And how it's designed to prevent bias from infecting the analysis. You recall that as well?
Yes, I do.
And yesterday, you agreed that experts should never selectively gather and interpret evidence to confirm a pre-existing belief while neglecting evidence that contradicts those beliefs, correct?
Correct.
And doing that is called confirmation bias, which you said you understood yesterday, right?
That is correct.
That would be improper to do that, correct?
Yes.
It would raise the specter, if not the reality, of unreliability if that occurred, correct?
It could, yes.
And it could also lead into errors in forensic analyses, correct?
Correct.
Let's take a look at your January 30th report, sir.
Okay.
And this is your first report, your second report being the May 8th report. In your January 30th report, you did not issue any opinion or conclusion with regard to the timing of what you call the text stream event 1162.2 in your January 30th report, did you?
No, I did not.
You didn't even mention either the phrase text stream event or the phrase 1162.2 in your January 30, 2025 report, did you?
No, I did not.
But in that January 30, 2025 report, you did evaluate the variance between the Lexus infotainment system on the one hand and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone data on the other, correct?
Correct.
In fact, in that report, the January 30th report, you compared the call logs on Ms. Reed's Lexus infotainment system with the call logs on Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone in order to evaluate whether there was a variance, correct?
Correct.
And do I have it correct in your report that it's the position that the timestamp call log data, specifically the recorded calls between Ms. Reed and Mr. O'Keefe, along with the infotainment power event logs, were analyzed for what you called clock skew by cross-referencing them against other independent data sources, right?
No, so that would have been comparing the timestamps from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone with the timestamps from the defendant's Lexus.
Right.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Right. To Ms. Reed's Lexus.
Correct.
And a forensic comparison of these data sets was aimed to identify timestamp discrepancies, correct?
Correct.
To identify potential clock skew, correct?
Correct.
And potential clock drift that could impact event reconstruction, correct?
Correct.
All this stated in your January 30th report, right?
Correct.
Your Honor, may I have this marked as the next exhibit in order for identification?
Yes.
Sure.
Give the DVB ID.
May I present to the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, I am presenting to you what has been marked as Exhibit BBB for identification. I'd ask you to take a look at it, sir, and then pick your head up when you've had a fair opportunity to take a look at it.
Okay. Sure.
Do you recognize that document, sir?
I do.
May I reapproach it on?
Yes, sir.
What do you recognize that document to be, sir?
Sure. So this is a graph that I put together that is comparing timestamps, call timestamps from the infotainment module with Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
And is that Exhibit BBB for identification in your January 30, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
And did you create that chart that is depicted in Exhibit BBB for identification?
Yes, I did.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of the information that you discussed in page 33 of your January 30, 2025 report?
Yes, it is.
I offer Exhibit BBB for identification into evidence, Your Honor.
If we can introduce the whole report to put it in
Why don't I
context.
see what's happening?
May I continue, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, I offer Exhibit BBB into evidence.
Okay.
It was represented to the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Burgess, I am representing to you what is now Exhibit 189 in evidence. Ask you to, once again, take a look at it, and if you need further time, please take it, sir, and then pick up your head when you've had a fair opportunity to look at that document.
Okay.
Despite claiming the purpose in your January 30 report of, quote, identifying timestamp discrepancies, potential clock skew, and clock drift, you did not compare the time of the three-point turn between the infotainment system in the Lexus SUV and Mr. O'Keefe's phone, did you?
Not at that time, no.
Instead, you identified the potential variance by analyzing various calls on the infotainment system of the Lexus versus Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
This data in that exhibit captures a precise moment in time that is easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct, it does.
Mr. Wolk, Your Honor, may Mr. Wolk please publish this exhibit?
Okay.
So this data, just to reestablish, captures a precise moment in time that's easily compared between the two devices, correct?
Correct.
Now, according to your own table, there are potential offsets of, reading in the far right-hand column, 2 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, 1 second, 8 seconds, 16 seconds, and 21 seconds, correct?
Correct.
And yet, you failed to apply this variance to the infotainment time on the Lexus associated with the text stream event 1162.2, correct?
Correct. May I explain?
I will proceed along. I'm sure if Mr. Brennan has questions and wants you to explain, he may choose to do that. This is simple arithmetic, is it not? It's either an addition or a subtraction, the offset, correct?
Correct.
And yet, in your initial report on January 30th, 2025, you did not take that final analytical step, did you?
No, because these clock variances do not apply to that time frame.
But you didn't take, you know what analytical step I'm talking about, correct?
No, I don't. I don't
All right.
believe so.
We'll come back to it. I want to go focus on your opinion. What you did do, as I understand it, in your January 30th report. So, in your opinion, we can leave that up for a moment, please, because I want to see if we need to show the contrast. With your Honor's permission, can we leave it up just a little bit longer?
Yes.
Thank you. In opinion number 5, and please feel free to look at your January 30th report,
Sure.
you indicated only this. The difference between the Lexus infotainment and Mr. O'Keefe's cell phone ranged between 8 seconds and 16 to 21 seconds during the period between 5:21:36 a.m. and 5:30:31 a.m. on January 29, 2022. Do I have that correct?
Yes, between 5:21 and 5:30 a.m.
Yes. Now what I'd like to do is, and we can take that down, thank you, Mr. Wolf. Let's talk about what information you learned after you issued your January 30, 2025 report. Or at the time of that report, you received and reviewed a copy of a portion of your colleague's slide presentation and report at Aperture, Dr. Judson Welcher, correct?
From a presentation by Mr. DeSogra. Yes.
Well,
Correct.
I understand you want to add Mr. DeSogra. My question is,
Sustain.
okay, yes, Your Honor, thank you. I'm focusing on what would you like to call it? You call it a slide presentation you prefer, Dr. Welcher?
Sure, we can.
I want
we
to
can
use whatever parlance you're comfortable with.
Yeah, slides fine, yeah.
Slide. So the slide presentation of Dr. Welcher that he submitted the same day you submitted your report on January 30, 2025. And in that, he analyzed the timing of the 1162 to what he calls an infotainment event, you call a text stream event, correct?
Well, could I see the slide we're talking about to clarify?
Absolutely, absolutely. All righty. You're aware that according to Dr. Welcher's analysis, as depicted in this slide in evidence, the 1162-2, what he calls an infotainment trigger that you call a text stream event, right?
Correct.
The 1162-2 text stream event occurred at 12:31:38 a.m. on January 29, 2022, correct?
Correct.
And that's when it began, right?
That's when the trigger threshold was met. Yes.
That's when the trigger threshold was met.
Correct.
You also testified yesterday that you reviewed Mr. Whiffen, Mr. Ian Whiffen's January report, which established a timeline of the last interactive events on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, could we please publish Exhibit 39, which is in evidence.
Okay.
And we could go to slide 82 and have 83 available, if we can enlarge the applicable sections. And what I'm going to ask you, Mr. Burgess, is to see whether these events are consistent with your memory of what the applicable events are. Do you see the column biometric device unlock with Face ID event at 12:32:04 a.m.?
Yes.
Now that's after the 12:31:38 a.m. 11:62:2 text stream event that's in Mr. Welcher's slide, correct, that we just saw?
Correct. The unadjusted Lexus clock, yes. Timestamp, yes.
So, but I'm going to repeat the question. The 12:32:04 a.m. device unlock with Face ID event is after the 12:31:38 and 12:31:43 11:62:2 text stream event that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct.
Now, do you see the lock event which occurred at 12:32:09?
Yes, I do.
That is also after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 text stream event, correct?
Yes, the unadjusted time.
That 12:32:09 a.m. lock event is after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 range that is stated in Dr. Welcher's report, correct?
Correct. From the Lexus clock.
So, if we could go back, and we're going to toggle back, with your Honor's permission, between these two slides for the next couple questions. If we can go back to and enlarge Dr. Welcher's slide. That 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 time period is what your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, chose and his slide analysis as the last user interaction, according to him, on John O'Keefe's phone, correct? That's what he chose.
Yes, the 12:32:09, yes.
Now, but even Mr. Whiffen's report establishes additional activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the event chosen by Dr. Welcher, correct?
Correct.
And, in fact, Mr. Whiffen identifies a, quote, lock event that occurred 26 seconds after the 11:62:2 text stream event identified by Dr. Welcher at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct, using the unadjusted clock.
Does Dr. Welcher at all use the words unadjusted clock in his slide, sir?
No, he does not.
Okay, what I'd like to do is ask you a question about whether, in fact, Mr. Whiffen identifies a lock event that occurred 26 seconds after the 11:62:2 text stream event at 12:31:38 to 12:43, as stated in your colleague's report, Dr. Welcher, the slide presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you know whether a lock event on an iPhone requires human interaction?
Typically, yes, it would.
Is it just typically, or does it?
Well, it does, and in this case specifically, I believe it was via the lock button.
Correct, but this specific instance, the lock, it requires somebody, a human being, to actually press a button on the side, correct?
Unless it's auto locking, yes, it requires a button press, yes.
Do you have any reason to believe that the iPhone of Mr. O'Keefe had an auto locking function on it, sir?
No, as I said, he used the lock button.
Right. If we can enlarge that, do you see the end of health event 36 steps that we talked yesterday that was covering a distance of over 84 feet? Do you see that occurring at 12:32:16 a.m.?
I don't believe we talked about that yesterday, but yes, I do see
Do
that.
you see it?
I do, yes.
And that's also after the 12:31:38 to 12:31:43 text stream event identified by your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, in his slide, correct?
Correct.
Now, finally, do you see the entry pocket state detected at 12:33:14 a.m.? You see that, sir?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know what a pocket state is, sir?
I do know what a pocket state is.
Do you know when the pocket states occurred on the iPhone of John O'Keefe pursuant to your analysis of his phone?
I do not.
You didn't analyze pocket state detections on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
No, I did not personally.
Do you believe pocket state detected data? Well, let me just go back and confirm. So you didn't analyze with any source pocket state detection information with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's phone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So let's go back and summarize for each of the ones you did look at and analyze that you just testified. Every single one of those that we just discussed, those user interaction events, occurred after Dr. Welcher claims a collision occurred as represented in a text stream event of 11:62:2 at 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you understand? Let's, if we can go back, please, to Dr. Welcher's slide. Do you understand that Dr. Welcher is correlating the infotainment trigger 11:62:2 with an alleged collision? Do you understand that?
Objection.
Let's come to sidebar, please.
If we could go now, Mr. Woke, back to the slide from Dr. Welcher's slide presentation. And if you could re-enlarge the applicable section that we've had up before. You have reviewed this slide and this specific data in this slide previously, correct?
Correct.
And I just want to, Mr. Wolk, just go back to the slide so we're clear on what this is. So this slide here is what you're speaking about, right?
Correct.
And you've reviewed this slide prior to your testimony in this court, correct?
Correct.
And you considered this slide as part of your analyses that you have performed and testified about, correct?
Yes, I have.
So, now, Mr. Burgess, I'd like to ask you a question. Every single one of the user interaction events that we talked about, steps, lock, etc., occurred after Dr. Welcher's what he calls an infotainment event, which you call a text stream event, in the range of 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
I would agree that yes.
So the answer is yes?
With the caveat.
I'm sorry, I didn't know
Sorry.
you hadn't finished.
Sure.
Please finish your answer.
Yes, with the caveat that user interaction only applies to the device lock, steps, and the pocket state are not duplicative of user interaction per se.
Let's just assume that is the case. Let's then just focus on what you consider to be a user interaction, which is device lock, correct?
Correct.
And the device lock event that you agree is a user interaction, we could go back to that just so we have clarity. The lock event that you agree is a user interaction occurred at 12:32:09, according to Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
In that 12:32:09 time period, we could go back to Dr. Welcher, it is after the end of the text stream event dubbed as 11:62:2, correct?
Correct. According to.
And that's
Sorry.
26 seconds. I didn't finish my question. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
So go ahead, finish your question. Don't answer, Mr. Burgess, until the complete question.
And that event lock, even according to Dr. Welcher's own words in his own slide, occurs 20 seconds after the end of the text stream event 11:62:2, correct?
Of the unadjusted clock, yes.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, do you want the lights on, Mr. Leslie?
And so to repeat to alter it, hopefully make it a little clearer. So according to Dr. Welcher, the licensed engineers, your colleague at Aperture, his slide that he has here, the last O'Keefe cell phone event, the lock, occurred within approximately 26 seconds after the end of the text stream event dubbed 11:62:2. That's what's stated there, correct?
Correct. According to the unadjusted clock.
You keep adding according to the unadjusted clock, but do the words according to the unadjusted clock appear anywhere in that slide, sir?
No, they do not.
We can take that down and, with the court's permission, turn the lights back on, please. Yesterday, you stated that you reviewed a presentation by another expert, Mr. DeSogra, who reviewed the findings of your January 30th report. Do you recall that, sir?
Yes, I did.
In fact, in your May 8, 2025 report, your second report, your first being the January 30th report, you only cite 2 new sources of data that you reviewed before making your conclusions, correct?
Correct.
May I approach Your Honor?
Yes.
I think need to be heard on this as well.
All right.
May I proceed, Your Honor, and approach the witness?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to present to you 2 documents, each of which is marked for identification. The first is Exhibit CCC for identification. That is one slide out of what is marked as Exhibit DDD for identification. And Exhibit CCC is one page out of Exhibit DDD for identification. And I'd ask you, sir, to take a look at those documents and reference either one. And please let me know, sir, when you've had a fair opportunity to review those documents so I can proceed with questions about them.
Sure. Okay.
Sir, can you please read the exhibit designation on the entire slide presentation?
On DDD.
Pardon me?
On exhibit DDD.
And that's triple D as in David?
Correct.
So in exhibit DDD, is that the March 5, 2005 PowerPoint presentation of Mr. DeSogra that you spoke about extensively yesterday?
Yes, it is.
And sir, before you came to court yesterday, did you review and consider the exhibit DDD for identification?
Yes, I did.
And as a matter of fact, you spent considerable time with regard to exhibit DDD before you came to court yesterday.
Correct.
And in addition, isn't it the case that your testimony yesterday is that exhibit DDD, the March 5, 2025 slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra, was part of the reason why you created your May 8th, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, I offer exhibit exhibit CCC into evidence and do not offer exhibit DDD at this time.
Okay, the witness just spoke of DDD, so why don't you have him just say what CCC is before we put it in?
I will do so, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Burgess, is exhibit CCC a slide page out of exhibit DDD?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now it'll,
Thank you for that, Your Honor. I now offer exhibit CCC for identification into evidence.
yes.
Thank you. And I also hand back to Madam Court Reporter exhibit DDD for identification. And sir, do you have before you read the three letters, please, just so we're on the same page in that exhibit?
Jim will need that. Yeah.
That the one that's in
Thank you.
the one page?
Yes. Exhibit 190.
And that's the entitled All Possible Combinations?
Yes, it is.
So we'll refer to that as exhibit 190, okay?
Okay.
Have you had a fair opportunity to refresh yourself on that one-page chart?
Yes, I have.
Your Honor, may I please publish exhibit 190?
Yes.
And if we could enlarge it without, I think, Mr. Wolk, we can obscure for the moment the all positive on the right and come back to that as needed. Now, Mr. DeSogra, who is an expert for the defense, took the data points you evaluated in your January 30, 2025 report and simply performed the last step in your analysis that I was referring to in previous, correct?
Correct. For a lot of data points that do not apply for the time of the accident.
I understand you may have a view as to whether they apply or not. I'm just trying to understand
Objection.
what you understood he did.
Again,
I'll
we'll,
repeat. Yeah, yes,
so
Your
we'll
Honor.
strike the comment part and just a
I'll
question,
repeat and
please.
just go to the question. So you understand that Mr. DeSogra took the data points that you evaluated in your January 30, 2025 report and simply performed the last step in your analysis, correct?
In my report, in addition to Dr. Welcher's.
Correct. In addition to that.
Correct.
Now, what I want to do is just elucidate the columns and their meaning. So, the column on the right equals the number of seconds, and is the far right, the number of seconds between the end of the 11:62:2 text stream event that in the slide of Dr. Welcher is ending at 12:31:43 and the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone that's occurred at 12:32:09, correct?
Correct.
And that's your understanding of that column as well.
Correct.
Now, even taking your colleague Dr. Welcher's assumption that the last user interaction on Mr. O'Keefe's phone occurred at 12:32:09 a.m. on January 29, 2022, is Mr. DeSogra demonstrating in this chart that by using the clock variance that you calculated in your January 30 report, there are no circumstances where the trigger event of 11:62:2 occurs before the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
After.
Sustained. There's one part of your question that needs to
Okay.
be omitted.
In terms of this chart, do you agree that the methodology and application of it of Mr. DeSogra is that Mr. DeSogra took the last user interaction data point of Dr. Welcher in his slide of 12:32:09 and applied the clock variance that you calculated in your January 30th report? Do you agree that that's what Mr. DeSogra did?
No, I do not.
What do you believe Mr. DeSogra did here?
Well, so the math is correct. So when he's trying to adjust clock variances between the two devices, that math is correct, but he's applying incorrect adjustments.
I understand, but what I'm trying to get at is just what you understood Mr. DeSogra did in this chart.
Correct. I did understand, yes, what he
Okay.
was trying to do.
And so, do you agree, based upon what Mr. DeSogra did as represented in this chart, there are no circumstances where the 11:62:2 text stream event occurs? Well, let me have you describe what you believe Mr. DeSogra is doing with regard to comparing, based upon this chart, the 11:62:2 text stream event of Dr. Welcher with the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone.
Sure. So he's trying to adjust the clock from the Lexus to the Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone clock, but he does that inaccurately.
Well, I understand you have I understand your comment. My question, sir, is this. What do you understand Mr. DeSogra is doing with regard to this chart? Do you understand what he is doing in this chart?
Correct.
I'd just like you to state what it is you understand he is doing.
Sure. So he's trying to adjust timestamps.
He's trying to adjust timestamps. In adjusting timestamps, do you agree that Mr. DeSogra makes the point with this chart that there are no circumstances where the 11:62 trigger occurs before the lock event on John O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Let me see if I can clarify this in this my question. Do you understand that what Mr. DeSogra is doing in this chart is he is showing numerically and arithmetically that there are no circumstances where the text stream event 11:62:2 occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it in that form.
So yes, I understand he's trying to show that.
Right. Well, he did more than try. Isn't that what he, by his math, that he is demonstrating?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
Yes, but it is inaccurate.
I understand, but that's, again, the question is that what he demonstrates using this chart?
Yes.
And what he demonstrates is that, Mr. Tsoga demonstrates that there are no circumstances where the 1162-2 trigger event occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Yes, inaccurate.
So I'm asking what Mr. DeSogra demonstrates in this report, and isn't it correct that Mr. DeSogra, using this math, Mr. DeSogra demonstrates and concludes that there are no circumstances where the 1162-2 text stream event occurs after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that. Does that demonstrate that?
Yes, inaccurately.
Okay.
So let's.
I'm going to move on, Your Honor. I'm going to move on. And this methodology and approach of Mr. DeSogra is simply math that he's using, correct?
No, it's not simply math.
Well, let's go to the clock variance values in the middle column on that chart. You see that, sir?
Yes, I do.
Those are, as of March 5 of the date of this, that this column was created, nothing in that middle column is new, is it? That data.
Yes, some of that data is new.
Well, the source data upon which it is created is not new, is it?
No, it is not.
All right. So the source data of that column, it's not new.
Correct.
And the middle column uses your data points from your January 30th report, correct?
No, not all of those are.
But it does use some of the data from your January 30 report, correct?
Yes, it does.
Is the reason that you did not take that final analytical step that we've been talking about in your January 30th report, and this is a question, is the reason you failed to take that final analytical final analytic step we've been talking about in your January 30 report was because you knew if you did that, that if you calculated the actual time of the 1162-2 text stream event based upon your own methodological analysis of the clock skew, there would always be continued interaction on Mr. O'Keefe's phone after the text stream event.
No.
So you deny that?
Yes.
Did you keep your January 30, 2025 report purposefully vague by merely noting a clock skew without engaging in any further analysis, such as tethering that clock skew or otherwise connecting it to the text stream event in Dr. Welcher's slide presentation?
No, I did not.
Switch to another topic. Take that down. Thank you, Mr. Gould. After reviewing, and I'm going to identify 3 timelines. After reviewing the timelines, you reviewed the timelines presented by Dr. Welcher, 1, Mr. DeSogra, 2, and Mr. Ian Whiffen, 3. All of which established that the 1162-2 text stream event occurred before that last user activity, the lock on Mr. O'Keefe's phone. You then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8, 2025, correct?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
No, so I issued the supplemental report based on that presentation that you just had up.
Well, before you issued that report, isn't it correct that you had reviewed the time data of Dr. Welcher in the slide that we've been reviewing?
Not before that time, no.
You had not looked at Dr. Welcher's slide with a tech stream event 1162.2 and a time for that before issuing your May 8th report?
No, yes, before misheard you, yes.
That's my question.
Yes.
So let me just ask it through a question.
Sure.
So it is correct that before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, that you had reviewed that slide of your colleague Dr. Welcher on 1162.2 that establishes the tech stream event as 12:31:38 to 12:31:43, correct?
Correct.
You reviewed it before your May 8th report.
Yes.
You
yes.
also reviewed before your May 8th report the slide presentation of Mr. DeSogra, correct?
Yes, I did.
And before you issued your May 8th, 2025 report, you also had reviewed the January 2025 report of Mr. Whiffen, correct?
Correct.
Each one of and all of those three established that the 1162.2 tech stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
I'm going to allow it if that's what, let's see what the answer is.
Using either unadjusted timestamps or inaccurately adjusted timestamps, yes.
Let me ask my question again, and if it's not clear, please let me know.
Sure.
After reviewing what we've discussed, prepared by Dr. Welcher, Mr. DeSogra, and Ian Whiffen, each and all of which established that the 1162.2 tech stream event occurred before the last user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, you then decided to issue a new report that would become dated May 8th, 2025. Is that statement I just made correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now let's take a look at your May 8th, 2025 report. You departed in your May 8th, 2000. Do you have that report in
I
front
do,
of you?
yes.
Do you need a moment to look at it, or are you ready to take
No,
questions?
go ahead.
Thank you. You departed from your analysis. Let's start it this way. In this May 8th, 2025 report, you departed from your analysis in your January 2025 report to reach a conclusion that would attempt to put the 1162.2 tech stream event after human interaction with Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
No, I did not depart from my original report. I clarified.
Okay. So you didn't depart from it, but you, in your May 8th report, but your position is you clarified it.
Correct.
But isn't it correct that in your January 30, 2025 report, you did not address at all whether the 1162.2 tech stream event occurred before or after the last user event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
But you did that in your May 8th report, correct?
Correct.
You don't call that a change, sir?
No, sir, I do not.
You call that a clarification.
I do.
In your January 2025 report, you compared call log entries between the infotainment system on the Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone to determine a potential variance, correct?
Correct.
And call logs are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare.
Correct.
Now, in your May 8th, 2025 report, you abandoned the call log analysis from your January 30th, 2025 report, correct?
No, I did not abandon it.
But you did depart from it, at least in some respects, correct?
I did not depart from it. I used another method.
Okay. So you used another method.
Correct.
In your May 8, 2025 report, you opined, as I understand it, that the call log variance has been ignored because, in your words, this offset is measured approximately 5 hours after the time of the alleged collision and cannot be assumed to apply to other timeframes as stated in the initial report. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Now, please show the jury, in your January 30 report, where you ever made that statement.
Sure. So that would, it's not worded exactly like that, but that would be in conclusion 5.
And conclusion number 5 is on page 37 of your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
And you concede at least as much that at least different words are used in paragraph 5 in your January 30th, 2025 report, correct? And your position is that it's the same statement as in your May 8th, 2025 report? Because that's my question.
That is correct.
In your May 8th, 2025 report, instead of applying the offsets from the call logs, which are discrete points in time that are fairly easy to compare, as you stated just moments ago, you decided to use, in your words, quote, approximate time of the 3-point turn as your anchor between the two devices. Do I have that right?
Yes, you do.
Isn't what you did and we just discussed a classic example of confirmation bias, which is to be avoided in science?
No, it is not.
So you believe that that is not confirmation bias?
No.
Choosing the 3-point turn as the independent data source is the only way you could ever get the text stream event to even possibly occur after the lock event on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
That adjustment is the only adjustment that can be applied due to the data. Yes.
And that adjustment is the only thing that can be done to get the text stream event 1162.2 to occur after the lock on Mr. O'Keefe's phone, correct?
Correct.
And that only one is the one that you chose, correct?
Correct.
And that's only because it's not a pinpoint in time. It's an amorphous range that can only, in your words, be approximated, correct?
No, that is because it is the only time adjustment in that time range that can be applied.
So it's your view that that's the only one that can be applied, but it is even what you're using is, in your words, an approximate time, correct?
Correct.
Isn't the shortcoming, sir, in your analysis that you ignored the additional user activity on Mr. O'Keefe's device that occurred after the lock event? Yes, I can. Isn't the shortcoming in your analysis, sir, that your analysis ignores the additional user activity on John O'Keefe's device, the cell phone, that occurred after the lock event?
No.
Well, let's take a look at events that, you tell me if I'm correct or not, occur after the text stream event 1162.2.
Sure.
So do you recall our discussion yesterday about the Apple Health data event of 36 steps covering a distance of over 84 feet? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall that that occurred at 12:32:16?
Yes, I do.
And that's after the text stream event of Dr. Welcher that he put in his slide, correct?
Correct.
Do you also recall a Doppler pocket state detection at 12:33:14? Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And that is almost an entire minute after the 1162.2 text stream event that is identified by your colleague, the licensed engineer, Dr. Welcher, in his slide presentation, correct?
Correct. And neither one of those are user interaction.
I understand but let's just take one of them.
Sure.
And that is the Apple Health data event of 36 steps covering a distance of 84 feet at 12:32:16. Would you agree that those steps covering that distance is human activity at least? Would you agree that's human activity?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's take a look at opinion number 7 in your initial January 30th, 2025 report. And sir, tell me when you had a fair opportunity to locate that.
Okay.
You concluded to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that, quote, the infotainment module power on events were on average recorded 3 seconds after the ignition release or finger off, correct?
Correct.
That means that your own testing requires an offset of -3 to account for a delay in the power on of an infotainment system, correct?
Correct.
That increases the time between the text stream event 1162.2 and the iPhone lock event by 3 seconds, correct?
Correct.
You testified about this same 3-second discrepancy yesterday during your direct examination in connection with your January 30, 2025 report, correct?
Correct.
However, you did not mention this offset of 3 seconds in your May 8th, 2025 report, did you?
No, I did not. Can I explain?
Mr. Brennan may have questions for you with regard to that. So nowhere in your May 8, 2025 report did you include the 3-second offset that you discussed in your January 30, 2025 report, did you?
Correct.
And in fact, sir, nowhere in your May 8th report do you even discuss why you're not addressing that 3-second, do you?
I do not discuss it, but it is that offset is adjusted within the adjustment that we do with the 3-point turn.
I understand. My question is simply, there's no discussion in your May 8th, 2025 report how or why you're not discussing that 3-second offset, correct?
Correct.
I've got a next section, Your Honor, if you would like me to move into it.
So why don't we keep going?
Okay. Sir, a text stream data event like 1162.2 does not, well, let me back up this way. You testified on direct that you're involved in accident reconstruction. That's part of the work that you do, sir?
No, that is not part of the work that I do.
Well, let me clarify then. Do you at all understand whether there's an issue as to whether a collision actually occurred in this case? Do you understand if that's an issue?
Objection.
Sustained.
Sir, do you have any understanding about what Dr. Welcher in his slide presentation was addressing in context with this case? Do you understand it?
Objection.
I'll allow a yes or no.
No, I do not.
So you have no idea what your colleague, Dr. Welcher, who's working on the same case, was addressing in his slide presentation?
Generally, yes, but I cannot speak to it.
What do you generally understand?
Objection.
Sustained.
What understanding do you have after reading Dr. Welcher's slide presentation?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it to.
Do
Sustained.
you have any understanding? Can we approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Burgess. I would like to go back to the line of questioning I was starting, and that is, I would like to discuss with you, and I'll start with your conclusion, and I'm going to reference your May 8th, 2025 report, sir. If you could turn to the conclusion section of your report, which is on page 7. And I'm going to start with, and I may just end with, we'll see conclusion number 1. Please take a fair opportunity to read that. Pick your head up when you have concluded that fair reading.
Okay.
Now, that paragraph 1 states, under conclusions, you say the following can be stated to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. 1, as noted in my initial report, the only call logs that can be used to compare and synchronize the clocks between Ms. Reed's Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone are those occurring between 5:21 a.m. and 5:30 a.m., which occur approximately 5 hours after the collision. You see that, sir?
I do, yes.
Now, what I'd like you to do is to go back in your report.
Same report?
Yes, sir, same report, May 8th. And I'd like you to turn to page 3.
Okay.
And if you could go to the 4th full paragraph that begins with 2 events near the time. And let me know, sir, when you're there, and if you could read that paragraph, pick your head up after you've had a fair opportunity to read it.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, you state 2 events near the time of the collision were recorded by the Lexus system as identified by Dr. Welcher and referenced by Mr. DeSogra. The first event, labeled Techstream Event 1162-1, is associated with a 3-point turn on Cedar Crest Road. The second event, labeled Techstream Event 1162-2, is associated with a reverse maneuver on Fairview Road. These events will be referenced below for clock synchronization analysis. The timestamps associated with these 2 events are based on a combination of the Lexus infotainment power on event and Techstream time count. Did I read that correctly, sir?
Yes, you did.
So in the same paragraph, am I correct that you're discussing a couple of Techstream events, 1162-1 and 1162-2?
Yes.
And you are talking about that Techstream event in the same paragraph as you're talking about an alleged collision, correct?
Correct.
And in your paragraph of your conclusion that we were referencing, conclusion 1, is this paragraph part of the basis for that conclusion 1? Is this sort of like some predicate analysis for conclusion number 1?
No, no, it is not.
So it has no, your view, it has no relationship whatsoever to conclusion one.
No, correct.
So let's go to your discussion of a collision and a tech stream event. Let's go back to paragraph 3. You see, you mentioned the word collision in paragraph 3, correct?
I do not.
I'm sorry, I had paragraph 3. I meant page 3, sir. Page
Yes,
3.
page 3. Yes.
Page 3, that paragraph we were just looking at, paragraph 4.
Yes. Sorry. Yes, I do see.
You
Collision.
see the word, use of the word collision.
Yes.
And again, that term is used in the same paragraph as you're identifying tech stream event 1162.1 and 1162.2, correct?
Correct.
Where did you get the basis to use the word collision at that part of your report?
That would have been from crash reports.
And whose crash reports?
The Massachusetts State Police.
So you used Massachusetts State Police reports to discuss allegations of a crash, collision.
Yes.
Do you state anywhere in your May 8th report that you used those reports at all? Do you list it in your references?
No, not in this report. No.
And as a matter of fact, this is the first time, right this previous moment, that you are mentioning those reports at all, correct?
No, those were mentioned in my initial report.
But I'm talking about your May 8th report.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. Your statements, and I want to clarify this because this is the ultimate topic I want to go to. It is not your conclusion that every tech stream data event means that there is a collision. Do you, sir?
No, that is not my conclusion.
So isn't it correct that you can have tech stream events and they're not collisions?
Yes, you can.
And isn't it a fact that a tech stream event, sometimes called a trigger event, is not like an airbag type deploying, correct? They're just, and we're going to get to this later, it's just something that happens with a Lexus vehicle that can cause the vehicle to register a tech stream event, correct?
Correct.
And some people refer to tech stream event as a trigger, correct?
Correct.
But there's many things that can happen with a vehicle that can cause a trigger, correct?
Correct.
We will come back to that. So you would agree, again, that a tech stream trigger event does not mean that there was a collision, correct?
Correct.
A tech stream data event doesn't mean that airbags were deployed, correct?
Correct.
A trigger data event doesn't mean that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
By itself, no.
By itself, it doesn't mean, correct?
Correct.
A tech stream data event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications databases and not devices and transporting that data for immediate processing and storage or for real-time analysis and analytics reporting, correct?
I don't think I understand your question. If you could rephrase.
Sure. A tech stream event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications and databases. Is that correct?
I would not call it applications and databases, no.
What would you call it?
So from various sensors or other modules on the vehicle.
Okay, so it's Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from various sensors and modules on the vehicle, right?
Correct.
Why don't we stop here, Mr. Leslie?
Yes.
Okay. Folks, we'll take our morning recess, so it's just 20 minutes. Okay?
All rise, please.
All right, Mr. Lessie, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Burgess? I'm going to pick up, sir, where we left off. A text stream trigger event does not automatically mean there was a collision, correct?
Correct.
A text stream data event doesn't, without more, mean an airbag deployed, correct?
Correct.
A trigger data event doesn't mean, without more, that there was a vehicle impact, correct?
Correct.
A text stream event merely refers to Lexus's practice of capturing real-time data from applications and databases, correct?
Sensors and other modules.
That's right.
I believe.
You
Correct.
said that earlier, sir. Sensors and modules. You reviewed the raw text stream trigger events on Miss Reed's vehicle, correct?
No, I did not.
Oh, you did not?
No.
Do you have an understanding whether Mr. DeSogra reviewed those events in his March 5, 2025 report?
I do not.
So you did not review the raw data for text stream trigger events on Ms. Reed's vehicle, and you did not therefore perform any analysis of that data as you sit here today, correct?
Correct. Outside of what Dr. Welcher provided.
Are you aware that there were approximately 30 text stream trigger events in an 8-month period on Ms. Reed's vehicle?
No, I'm not.
Assume the data shows that in the near 8-month period that Ms. Reed owned her vehicle, the Lexus in question, there were 30 text stream trigger events. Assume that. You would not conclude that there were 30 collisions in that 8-month period, would you?
No, I would not.
Would you agree, sir, that there were actually 2 triggers on January 29th?
Yes.
And the first trigger that you referred to of 1162-1, that was not a collision, was it, sir?
Without reviewing the data, I don't know.
Well, as you sit here today, you have no basis to state that the 1162-1 trigger was a collision, do you?
No, I do not.
And in fact, didn't you refer to that as a 3-point turn?
I did, yes.
And you didn't mention in your direct testimony when you talked about the 3-point turn anything about a collision, did you?
No, I did not.
And as you sit here today, there's no fact or data that you have to conclude that there was any supposed collision associated with that 1162-1 3-point turn trigger event, correct?
Correct.
A trigger event can occur on a Lexus vehicle by a whole host of possibilities, correct?
Correct.
You could maybe slam on the brakes and cause a trigger event.
That is one possibility.
You could have just unusual driving. You could be going at a speed or doing something else that has nothing at all to do with a collision, correct?
That is correct.
And in fact, there are almost countless events that can occur that can cause a trigger event in a Lexus vehicle.
So I don't know the exact count of what type of triggers there are, but yes, there are a
many.
number. Yes.
So back to the 1162-1 three-point turn trigger event. On your direct examination, you just referred to event surrounding that as a three-point turn, correct?
Correct.
And yet that three-point turn registered as a trigger event, right?
Correct.
Are Lexus SUVs trigger happy?
I do not know, sir.
As you sit here today, none of the information in that black box that you referred to on your direct testimony indicates that there was a collision on January 29th, does it?
Not by itself.
Not by itself.
Correct.
And it doesn't occur that none of the information in that black box indicates that there was a collision on any day without more, correct?
Correct.
I'd like to now turn to a different topic, sir. In your direct examination, you reference a Ms. Maggie Gaffney. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And was it part of your reference that she did with respect to the Lexus SUV?
Yes, it was.
And, for instance, you criticized her for failing to extract the micro SD card from the circuit board during the initial chip-off, right?
So I did criticize for not identifying the micro SD card and subsequently not downloading it, yes.
And on direct, you even tried to lay at her footsteps, if you will, your bits bytes misinterpretation on her by claiming that you assumed, quote, a competent expert, close quote, would not have overlooked a relevant chip, so you became confused how there could be data missing. Is that a fair characterization?
No, it is not.
Did you at all try to use as a justification for your misunderstanding of bits and bytes that it was her work?
Her word? you
Her
said?
work.
Her work.
Yes, her work.
So it was the overlooking of the SD card. Yes.
Right. So you did try to lay at her footsteps part of the reason why you misinterpreted the bits and bytes that we discussed yesterday. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct.
Okay. So you would agree then that the bits and bytes misinterpretation that you and I discussed yesterday had nothing to do with the work of Ms. Gaffney, correct?
So in part, but that was my mistake. Yes.
All right. I'm trying to understand which is it. Is it Ms. Gaffney's work had some part in your misinterpretation of bits and bytes, or her work had no part in your misinterpretation of bits and bytes?
Some part.
So you do attempt to lay some blame on Ms. Gaffney for your misinterpretation of bits and bytes, correct?
No, I'm not trying to blame anyone.
Okay. In your January 30, 2025 report, are you consistent with your criticism of Ms. Gaffney?
As I recall, yeah, I believe so. Yes.
In fact, you yourself provided the explanation for why the micro SD card was not extracted during the original chip-off, didn't you?
Yes, that it was overlooked.
Right.
Yes.
So if you could please turn to page 5 of your January 30, 2025 report. Okay. And sir, when you get there, if you could let me know, and I will then proceed with questions.
Okay.
So you do attribute to Ms. Gaffney in your report some responsibility for this micro SD card not being extracted during the original chip off. Is that correct?
Yes.
So let's go to page 5 of your report, sir. And bear with me, I want to get you the exact location. I don't have it exactly, but I want to quote it. Your Honor, may I have a moment to get the exact quote?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Your Honor. I now have it. Mr. Burgess, if you could turn to page 5, as I was referencing, and go to the third full paragraph. If you could look about 2/3 of the way down the far right, you see the word where it starts with at. It's the paragraph beginning when examining vehicle
Yes,
systems.
I
You see
do.
that
Yes,
there?
I see it.
And do you see the at that is at the very far right of that paragraph?
Yes.
So it says, at the time of the incident, Burla, and Burla is what? Can you read?
Burla is a company that offers and develops forensic hardware and software for vehicle modules.
Right. So at the time of the incident, Burla did not offer support for the infotainment and telematics modules removed from the Lexus, but have since released updated software indicating similar modules are supported via in-vehicle acquisition. According to Burla, currently, there are 2 known and documented modules within the vehicle that have the capability to store data. The infotainment module removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Ms. Gaffney. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
So as you stated, Burla is the organization that you described, which for the purpose you did, I'm not going to repeat it on direct examination. If I could sort of put in layman's terms and see, you tell me if this is correct. Where to make it easier for non-technical people, as you put it, to extract data from a vehicle, correct?
Correct.
You described in your January 30, 2025 report that at the time of the initial chip-off, Burla did not provide support for the information contained on the micro SD card, correct?
No, so I think you're misreading that last sentence, and I can clarify.
Can you read the last sentence, sir?
I can. So the infotainment module removed from Ms. Reed's Lexus is consistent with the MMU documented by Burla and has been identified as containing an internal micro SD card not acquired during the initial chip-off acquisition by Ms. Gaffney.
So my question is, did or did not Burla, at the time of the initial chip-off by Ms. Gaffney, provide the technical support to address the information contained on the micro SD card?
No, Burla did not and does not.
Good. That I wanted to.
That was my identifier of the micro SD card. Correct.
So it was not until after the initial chip-off that Ms. Gaffney participated in that Burla updated their software to be able to identify the types of data, for Burla software to be able to identify the types of data contained within the micro SD card on the Lexus circuit board. Is that correct?
No, that's incorrect.
So Burla didn't do anything new after the initial chip-off with its software?
Sure. So Burla released new software after the initial chip-off that addresses being able to download software via the infotainment module while it's in the vehicle. So that involves plugging a USB in to the vehicle and downloading data. That does not address the micro SD card on the circuit board itself.
And Ms. Gaffney did not have, at the time of the initial chip-off, that updated Burla software, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
But
thank you, sir.